What's good, everybody? First trade recap from the new office space. I'm gonna go for that old money look. I have this sick brick wall behind me and this huge white wall behind me. If you have suggestions, throw them in the comments. Like I said, I'm going for that old money sort of equestrian English office sort of vibe. So if you've got suggestions, links, send them below. All right, so what do we have today? Today was pretty cool. So you can see my executions here on MNQ. Nice 65.55 point run up to right here. Yeah, what was it, about 65 points? 60 points. So let's get into it. Really important day in terms of aligning timeframes. We talk about aligning timeframes a lot, but what that actually means can be a little abstract and really confuse people. So I want to give you the top-down approach today of what I was looking for when I came into the markets and what ended up happening. So right out of the gate, we had this higher time frame analysis where we had come down to 50% of this range here, right? Of this huge range right here, tapping equilibrium. And we were delivering out of this massive 4-hour gap, as well as these 1-hour gaps here and these little 15-minute gaps right here, right? So let's zoom in so you can see those. Big gaps right here, all shown automatically by my indicator. So come onto the charts, I see that. I see that we're in OTE. I see that we've swept this beautiful external liquidity in this area. And so I have the ingredients of the confirmation model to start looking for a reversal. So when I zoom in, right, what do we have? Well, here's the external sweep. Let me clean some of this up for you guys. Here's the external sweep that we saw. And then if we zoom in a little bit more, you can see you get an internal sweep, right? So now anyone who saw this sweep and went long has been stopped out. So all of the impatient hands who didn't want to wait for a pullback and an internal sweep here got knocked out. So now we've gathered even more liquidity, which is upgrading the setup even further. And what we then see is an inversion of a 5-minute gap here and a change in the state of delivery here. Now, when does all of this happen? Because that's really important. This all happens, let's do a little replay, sorry, at 7:20 a.m. Well, this happens at 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Eastern time, right? I'm in Chicago. So this is pre-market. I'm not going to touch this. But when I come under the charts, I see that this narrative is already forming and playing out. And so as we see, as price continues on throughout the morning, we get open here, and I'm saying, okay, on the 5-minute, I've seen a change in the state here, right? This is my 5-minute change in the state of delivery that we were just looking at. Let's mark that, SIST on the 5. And on the 1-minute, it's down here. So I've got two change in the states of delivery. Both are really interesting to me. Sorry, the 1-minute is actually right here, right? So what I'm looking for, now that this is all starting to play out at open, which is right around here, I need to see price pull back, tap into the fair value gaps that got inverted, or just tap the change in the state, and then I want to look for a continuation up. So I'm looking for some kind of volatility, an impulse move down, again, to basically get anyone who thinks this play is dead, who's not paying attention to the larger time frame, to think that we're going short, and ultimately serve as my liquidity. So what happens? We come down and we get exactly that. This is my narrative playing out. If price had just kept going up and taken out this external liquidity here, which also is tapping this massive 1-hour time frame, this massive 1-hour time frame here, and is aligning, if we look on the other side of this, at 50% of this range, I'm no longer interested in that move, because in my mind, if we tap this higher time frame swath, if we tap 50% of now this range, we could start looking to go lower. And so I will have missed that play, which is fine, right? I don't have to be a part of every move. I'm patiently waiting for those A+ setups, because I'd rather have 10 A+ setups in a month than just be taking trades every single day, hoping that things work out, right? So in this instance, my narrative comes to fruition, right? I can't predict the future any more than any other trader can. But what I can say is, here's what I'm looking for. And if what I'm looking for comes true, then I can enter a trade. So what I'm looking for comes true. We come down, right? Everyone freaks out and thinks that this opening manipulation is going to shoot down past London lows and we're just going to continue on dumping. But that's not the narrative that I'm looking for. So I see this rejection here of the 5-minute inversion, of the 1-minute inversion of our change in the state. I'm like, okay, this is a really good sign that price wants to go higher. So I actually zoom in even further. Now, I don't usually do this because I can only jump into the 30-second chart if I have all of the higher time frame confluences that we've just discussed. If I'm just looking to take a wild swing inversion, which I rarely do anyway, I'm never going to go below the 1 minute. The 1 minute is sacrosanct. That's the safe zone. I'm only going to the 30-second in this instance because I'm so confident in the draw of liquidity and I'm so confident in my model. We've also got this 15-minute we're delivering out of. Again, we've got all this higher time frame liquidity, these 4 hours. I know they're not on here right now, but we have this massive swath of fair value gaps on the higher time frame, right? There they are. This huge 4 hour, these 1 hours, those 15 minutes. So I know we're delivering from a ton of liquidity down here. We have the narrative to want to go higher. So on the 30-second, what do I get? I get the same thing. We tap, this is that 5-minute, right? That was inverted, all of these 5 minutes here. So on the 30-second, 5-minute is a higher time frame. I'm now tapping a higher time frame fair value gap. I'm tapping the change in the state of delivery from the higher time frame narrative, and I'm putting in my own change in the state of delivery on the 30-second. So now I have a confirmation model on the 30-second inside of a confirmation model on the higher time frame, on the 15-minute, on the 1 hour. This is what we look for. This is what we want, is those narratives to all line up and tell you the exact same thing. So I enter the trade. Let's remove this so it looks cleaner. And we shoot right up to this area here. And this was my target because, again, we've got these huge gaps here. There's going to be a ton of sellers in this area. We're also now at 50% of this range, right? And so what ends up happening when we tap that 50%? The team exits here. We obviously took this trade live. Does one more internal sweep now here before dropping down, right? So it's not a coincidence that our target was exactly the area where price reversed, because the same reason I wasn't going to take this trade long if we had already taken this is the same reason it's now reversing, because this is an area of liquidity. And if price wants to reverse, this is likely where it's going to happen. And so price reversed, although we had already gotten out of the trade. So it really didn't matter. Interestingly enough, this here to the downside, if you wanted to take it, there wasn't an inversion here, unfortunately, but this little change in the state, tapping this sweep of liquidity now, or internal sweep of liquidity right here, and then change in the state right here, higher time frame delivery in 50% of that range. And then what do? We dump another 175 points. Then what happens? Well, we're still delivering out of this, right? But we come down, we're gonna take London low because that's the area that I would now be interested in. By the way, this change in the state of delivery, look at this, gets tapped to a T before coming back down. These aren't coincidences, guys. I can't make this stuff up. The market is algorithmic. It acts through patterns. It's nature inside the markets, all right? This happens every single day. When you start seeing these patterns, you can't unsee them. They start showing up everywhere. And a change in the state of delivery is exactly what we tap into and reverse down to London lows. Then what happens? We take London lows, right? Now we've got another sweep here. We're still delivering out of these higher time frames. That hasn't changed, right? Now we've swept London low, SMT, indicator calls it out right there. At the lows, let's jump back down to the 1 minute. That would have been your sweep. And then this is technically your change in the state here, if you're gonna go higher, right? Because all of this is the last series of candles that led into that sweep. And then, let's hit play. I actually don't know what happened next. Yeah, look at that, boom. So test the change in the state here now, right? And then boom, shooting up. So kind of crazy. You could have taken 3 massive plays today. That's not how I trade. I'm a one and done guy, right? My whole job is to come to the markets, take my money, and go home, right? I'm not gonna, it's nice that it worked out 3 times, boom, boom, boom today. But that's just being greedy. This right here, this sends your kids to college. You don't need more than that in a day, right? If you're managing your risk properly and waiting for A+ setups, this is all you need to be a profitable trader. So yeah, took everything today on the lives. Check out the link below. If you're curious about the indicator that automatically plots my fair value gaps, that automatically plots SMT, that automatically plots news, that's also in the link below. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Later, everybody.